Hey guys, Mike teaches programming here, and welcome to a new series called Java Lessons. In today's episode, we're going to be talking about methods. What are methods and why they are needed? So, methods are kind of blocks of code, we can say, and they reduce the amount of duplicated code that you have throughout your program. So, let's see that, and let's create a brand new project. So let's create a new Java project. It's going to be a command line application. Click next and we'll call it methods. Okay, so you can see here that we get our standard main, excuse me, our main class. So let's go ahead and write our main method right here. So let's say we are creating a simple calculator. And what we want to do is add two numbers together. So let's do that right here. Int first num is equal to 5, and let's duplicate that, and we'll call it second is equal to 5. Now what we need to do is, if we can print these, we go first plus second, and if we run, we can see down in the terminal we get 10. That's fine. But let's say we wanted to let's say we wanted to actually print two stuff out. Let's print another thing, and our first is going to be addition. Okay, now we run that. There's two lines to our addition kind of method or block of code. Okay, so if we want to add, there's two lines. Now instead of, if we want to do this over and over again, instead of copying them every single time like this and changing just these numbers, what we can do is we can just create a method and recall these two lines of code every single time without duplicating. So let's do that. Let's create a new method. First keyword is going to be public. Now this can be public or private depending on the context. So if we want to call this method from outside, we can keep it as public, but if we just wanted to keep it within the context, we can mark it as private. So what we can do then is move on to the next keyword, is static. Now you can leave this out. If we're not in a static context, we don't need to have our method as static. So if you're calling a method from within a static context, it has to be static, has to be marked static. If not, you don't need static there. Now, next thing is our return type. Now, this can be many things. It can be an int, so within the method, we need to return an int value. It could be a string, but for now, if we're not returning anything, we can mark it as void. And then the next thing is your method name. So let's call it addition. Now, inside the first set of brackets, what we do is we add our parameters. Now, we can, inside here, you can add any parameters you want. You can add a string, string s, and then just separate it by a comma. You can add more parameters as you please. But what we are adding is two numbers. So we add int first and our int second. Again, you could separate them by a comma, add in a string value, etc. Now what we need to do is we need to make the method, or the context of the method, we need to create what it does. So what we can just do, cut these lines out of here, paste them into here, and that is it. We've created our method. Now we need to call this method from within our main application. So we can do that just by new line addition. It's complaining because it needs two parameters, so let's pass in first and let's pass in second. Now if we run this, we can see we get the two lines. So that comes back to why we need methods. If we were to not have a method, for let's say if we wanted to call it twice, there would be 4 lines of code if there was no method. But if we were to call it twice by using a method, all we need is 2 lines of code. So drastically reduces the amount of code, and that only improves with how many lines of code is in your method. Okay, now as I said, we can also do a return type as well. So let's say we want to actually return what the value of the added values are. So let's say we go int added value, and we don't need to initialize it as yet, and we want addition to return what these two, when they're added, what the value is. So again, we go to our return type. What we want to return is an int. So you can see here that it will complain. And why does it complain? Missing return statement. So we need to return the addition of first and second from the method. So we can do that just by going first plus second. And we can remove these lines of code. We can leave them in there. Okay, but what I'm going to do is delete them. So all this method does is return the added value of the two variables you pass in. And then how we assign this is by copying it, pasting it here, and added value is equal to addition. So now this added value will be assigned as first plus second. So let's go to print out the added value, and we should get 10. Okay, so that is pretty much methods and how to kind of use them in the most simplest form. Yeah, so I think that's it for this episode. If I missed anything or you want me to go over anything again, let me know. Thanks for watching.